Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. Welcome to the Gaming Daddy channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. So, decided to break silence after a few days, getting ready for work. A holiday's over, so yeah, I'm a little busy on that end. But a few developments have come to light, and I thought, it'd be, kind of sensible for us to discuss these things because this is the division, and you know how it is. In the community here, we have varying opinions about everything. So kick back, let's jump into it. So right now, it appears that there is a little bit of internal, I don't know if I will call it fatigue or if I'll call it, tuggling or tussling or strife or whatever it is within massive Ubisoft, because a lot of changes have taken place. So just the other day, Epic Slayer's content creator made a video talking about a tweet from one of the art directors at Massive, and I think they are on the Division 2, and a response from another gameplay programmer as well. It would seem as if that these two parties had a little bit of a misunderstanding as to the nature of the work and all of the above. So if you go back and kind of look at what's going on, one of the developers posted a tweet saying, why does it feel like you're the only one carrying your company on some days? The other one posted and said, it doesn't feel like that for me, but I guess we don't, we probably need to be on the same page regarding these, issues. So this is probably a little bit of that internal work-life environment or work environment anyways, because people say work-life balance. I'm like, yeah, your work is part of your life, whether you like it or not. It just happens to be a huge portion of your life, so you have to be the one that defines it in many cases. And I think what's happened is this stuff has spilled out, and basically somebody probably could not hold something in, and eventually it came out. So before I jump into this scenario, I have to first go ahead and say game development is very challenging. I know what I'm talking about. I've tried some of it, and other people that I've talked to about trying it, they've seen the work involved, and they also can agree with me. Now, they will not tell you in public here that they're trying it, and they're probably, they have their reasons, but I know for certain, having looked through the community of other gamers who have actually explored game development and in some cases tried their hands, we understand that this is a challenging proposition. Nonetheless, there's something about getting into a very, very challenging job where it requires a lot of you. And if you've done it long enough, there are also things that are required of you as well as a developer or somebody in this space. And that is you have to have a better mental fortitude than everybody else. So already it appears that, either everything is really, really challenging right now at the studio at Massive, having almost basically no leadership, or having maybe new leadership and new control from Ubisoft that may be taking a toll on the developers. Also, it could be that their decision-making, aspect of things that are probably leaning towards some developers being happy and some others not being happy. If you were to ask me, I think that all of the above is playing some level of a factor in all of this. Just recently, we saw Nicky Coupens, who was a senior gameplay developer, pretty much move from Massive Ubisoft to IO Studios, a Danish studio, and I think he lives in in Sweden, where he worked at Massive, and might be getting a better proposition with the a studio that's more of an indie studio with a little bit of weight and potentially has a lot more say in his work-life environment, basically, and how he can work and maybe able to work remotely with them. And with his extensive expertise, there is no shortage of jobs for somebody like that, somebody who shipped a game like Division 1 and Division 2. So I think this is what we're seeing in that studio. Another thing, too, is the side of the community. Many members of the community are interpreting this as, oh, you see, the game division has gone to tank and blah, blah, blah. And I say, one of the best things you want to do is you just always want to temper down assumptions because it's going to be very healthy for you. And number two, you just kind of wait and see things play out while you just chill in the corner, because at the end of the day, none of this stuff affects you as a gamer. Really, the truth is it. You may say, oh, I feel disappointed or I feel this. Nah, trust me, you have way better, more important things to be dealing with than worrying about developers who probably have a little bit of issues, or worrying about a video game where you've already gotten, a bunch of your playtime. Now, yes, I can see the concern that you may have as to the state of the game, but it in no way, affects you. So that's why one of the best ways to go is to just kind of just chill and just watch how these things play out. But again, you can also kind of comment and say, how is this going to play out from a financial perspective, which is usually my biggest premise when I'm evaluating what's going on in these studios, because at at the end of the day, they need the bag. If they don't have the bag, those devs aren't going to be able to tweet the luxury of being able to, being the only one carrying the whole company. They're going to be looking for work elsewhere. So that's a very important aspect of their premise. So this is another thing that you have to also pay attention to. And so when you weigh all of this, you look at one developer leaving, you look at where Massive as a studio is going with other games, Avatar in the works, Star Wars potentially in the works, an associate creative director, Yannick, basically, right now helping to create some Division 2 content, the external stuff from Massive like the Division Heartland and Tom Clancy X Defiant. You really got to, look to all of that and bring it together. But in this video, we're not going to be able to do that. Instead, we're just going to look at Massive, and I think that's where we're going to be able to gain some of our answers. So one of the first things I wanted to say is Massive Ubisoft has said that they're working on some content for the Division 2. Now, whether or not that content is going to come, that's their business. That's just the truth. And like I said, it has no effect on me personally. I guess I should speak for myself. But if they don't bring that content out, then they have a lot to lose, and you have to look at it from that. The bag is dependent on this content that they are talking about bringing, that's being worked on by Ubisoft Bucharest, being supervised by Massive, I would say, what they call them, top brass in a sense. So someone like Yannick and people who are actually, in a position to supervise that kind of content. If they don't bring out that content, Massive Ubisoft has a lot to lose. Many people have not necessarily considered how much they have to lose if they don't deliver this Division content, or at least deliver something that is close to it. Now, let's look at what they have to lose, or the possibility that they have something to lose. Number one, they have a Division 40 million potential player base, basically from Division 1 and Division 2, who have entirely played the franchise. That's number one. And if they want to harness this player base, they really have to ensure that this player base is smiling at the end of some kind of a window or the opening of another window. So by the time they're announcing the release of their Avatar game in 2022, it goes by a logical perspective that they make at least a good portion of their Division community happy. If they do so, they can at least bank on the fact that some people are going to take that goodwill into purchasing another game. If they make this community mad, they can kiss that dollar goodbye. And I guarantee you, a company like this is not in anywhere wanting to kiss that kind of dollar goodbye. So yes, even though the content does not come at the end of August and it comes in December or in January, it's all about people just basically knowing that they fulfilled whatever it is that they said they wanted to fulfill. And I think that basically checks off the box, because that's basically what it is. Now, some people may take offense at the time frame, but again, that's all subjective, because you don't know who's working on what with all of the whatever that's going on in the world and people staying and working from home. So, we don't know anything regarding that. So right now, they may be at a, pinch for developers to work on that Division content, because now people have moved to Avatar and Star Wars. So that's probably the case. So we might be getting our Division content late, or maybe never getting it at all. But again, if they don't drop that content, they have that to lose. Number two, I think that they may be working on something with the Division inside of Massive. See, it's very challenging and very, I don't know, it's almost impossible, or let me just say improbable, to think that Ubisoft Massive will just leave the Division 2 just like that. Like, I don't understand where that logic comes from. Now, let me go ahead and try to buttress my points with different points of, I would say, evidence. So number one, their highest selling game in their studio, since they've been an indie studio before they got purchased by Ubisoft back in the 90s, I think Ubisoft bought that studio in 1998 or something, is the Division 1. And then followed by that, they enjoyed some level of success from the Division 2. And so for them to go ahead and say, we're just going to throw it away because another studio is going to be making Heartland, and another studio is going to be using some of the, bad guys in our game to make their own new free to play first person game, it doesn't resonate logically with me. Even if they're not going to be bringing out a Division, game from them in the near future, there's no way that there is not something Division on the table. That would actually be something that breaks a lot of what Ubisoft has been able to achieve from that studio. But that's just one point of looking at things. Another point is looking at the way the former managing director of Massive described their studio. He described their studio as a studio that was basically born from the success of the Division 1. There's a video on the Massive Entertainment YouTube channel where you can go watch him say that. And he talked about what they have in that studio. He said, here in Massive, we have The Division, we now have Avatar, and we now have Star Wars. And so they have these three major games. And of the three major games, two of them are external IPs with other, big companies that are at the helm of those things, where they'll probably have to be sharing profits with them or actually receiving a lot of the right transfers for them to be able to make decisions. Ubisoft is not necessarily too big on that kind of a business model, but I think they found the opportunity to take advantage of it and they went for it anyways. But if you think about Ubisoft's titles and if you look at the Ubisoft earning call, that's the bag again. Like I always say, look at the bag. They always prioritize how much they make and earn from their big games like Assassin's Creed, the Tom Clancy games, and all of the above. This is what they usually prioritize, this is what they usually talk about, and what they usually go for. So if that is at the center and the core of their business model, unless their business model has changed, then I don't see a future for the Division 2. But as long as they maintain this business model, as long as they go with this particular area of, making sure that they want to prioritize owning the IP and not having to share any profits with anybody else, then I think that the Division is going to happen. Whether or not the developers are all leaving day by day or whether they're disgruntled or whatever, they will hire people to do the job. Trust me. Even those jobs that those developers are thinking are probably not conducive for them, there are people in the industry right now that will die to get a job like that. And they are talented as well. That's one thing about, when you think about the way these corporations think and even think about the way there's talent everywhere. Some people in the community are even saying it's probably a good thing that we're seeing developers leave or we're seeing people within Massive leave, and probably fresh blood will be able to bring about new things in the studio. I don't know how much of a good thing that is, but you never really know. It might be a potentially game-changing way for the franchise that we get new aspects of looking at things. I mean, even from the top to the all the way down, you have Massive you have a Yannick who's potentially going to be taking on the Division, and so that might bring some really cool ideas. So again, I don't know if I'm going to judge this one scenario as something that indicates exactly the frame of the franchise. Neither am I going to say I know exactly what this may mean. I'm just seeing that you have employees that are probably trying to make sense of some of the things that is going on with their work, and it's just basically what it is. In fact, somebody shared something very critical and said this is just normal human nature. People are usually dissatisfied almost every single time in almost every single circumstance. So that's pretty much my video on this. Hopefully I'll have more to talk about, but for now we're just gonna chill. I'll get back to doing other projects and I'll fill you guys in as things come out. XDefiant, that's a whole new talk, but hey, I'm gonna leave that for the people talking about it, and hopefully we'll talk in another video. Let me hear your thoughts nonetheless in the comment section. Peace out.